comes under sanitary.
Ron, I'm asking the planning board, okay?
That's your answer, the sanitary code.
So, but where would how would I find out what the limitations, like, if I were to tear my house down, I couldn't build another house?
Well, the rule on the sanitation, you need 48,000 square feet, right?
43.
42, I'm sorry, which is a hair under an acre. That is a requirement by the sanitation board. If you meet those requirements and it passes, you know, the septic system test that they would do, then you can build. But if you have anything less than that,
Okay, but you can build any size of garage because it doesn't have plumbing.
well, I was gonna say there's one exception though. If you're willing to put, as some people have on the lake, a super duper septic system, which some people have, and they put thousands of dollars literally into that, and it's approved by the county, then you can build.
The lot size would still be too small, correct?
Pardon?
The lot size would be too small.
No, because proof on the lake is, I can name a couple of houses, and, you know, the one is McCrae's place, the
What do they
A-frame.
have to have, raised bed,
Pardon?
raised bed system or what? What do they have to have? You
Well,
don't know.
I don't know too much about these new septic systems, but I do know they're super duper. They claim you can drink out of them when you come out of there. And the last one that was built was in McCrae's with that A-frame down there, which you probably seen, Nancy, down there. Now, that has a super duper septic system in there. Now, he was allowed to build on that small lot, had enough room, had put the well up front, and then consequently tear the old building down. It was there. It was an old camp. So that's how it got built, on less than an acre.
And again, under this new land use regulations, if they ever adopt it, there are setbacks from the house to the property line, so that would regulate it also.
Okay, and but that hasn't passed yet.
No, it's not that.
And are those new proposed land use regulations up on the website?
No,
No.
they're not.
So where are they?
Good question.
Are they somewhere here that I can get access to them? Or could they be put up? I mean-
They're proposed to the town
They're
board.
proposed.
We gave them to the town board.
They gotta have a copy somewhere, or is it?
Yeah, we
So-
gave them, we made a proposal and the town board hasn't. I mean,
But that's
it's
been-
pending if they're gonna approve them or what they're gonna do. I don't know what they're gonna do with it.
So when did the planning board write those regulations and submit them to the town board?
Oh, God, it's
2 years.
2 years ago.
It was before the windmill stuff
Oh,
started,
yeah,
I
before
know
the
that.
windmill. But
Yeah.
Windows would actually stall it.
Exactly.
So that's been just in abeyance while the wind turbine.
Yeah,
Right.
it has,
Okay,
but it'll soon be addressed, pretty soon.
okay, because it's really, when I'm dealing with my neighbors, but also thinking about my own property, I would really like to be able to read the land use regulations and have a clear sense of what is going on and what's what. And
Now, is your house
I agree
single
with
story or double?
it's 1.5 stories. It's the old cottage, and then there's a new addition that Sandy built that has 2 stories. Okay, so I'm perfectly fine with Damien Coyle building a garage. Everybody deserves to have a garage. But I'm interested in the process by which that's taking place, and wondering who knows what's going on. And I know that the code enforcement officer has been there, but is there a requirement for him, for Jeff Warden, to communicate with the planning board what he's seeing as he does his 8 inspections on that building?
There is
It's just
not.
very mysterious.
Yeah, but he actually talked to me about it, and he and I both went down and inspected it, so I do know about it. But that's not-
Before it was dug, or
Yeah.
after the pit was dug. And then he's gotta sign off at 7 further stages, and does he check in with you, Roger, when he does that?
No.
So he doesn't have to?
No, he's supposed to check as it's going up when
Right. But it's not it's just.
He doesn't have to have our okay on that, so.
Okay, and finally, is there, I have records from Sandy McKinnon submitting fairly extensive plans to the Army Corps of Engineers and the DEC when she was putting riprap on my shore, what's now my shoreline. And the letter that I have says the Army Corps was interested to know, even if she put a stairway in there in addition, that would have to go through the Army Corps for approval. I don't see, I mean, I have that correspondence that she handed over to me 2 years ago when I bought the house from her. I don't see any similar kind of oversight being applied to Mr. Croyle as he develops his waterfront from what was a few years ago really green and wild to completely engineered waterfront. And I'm not sure, I keep getting different answers from different bodies. I'm not sure what the rule is and why, putting a few tons of riprap, Sandy had to go through the Army Corps.
So
And
if I can interrupt, you're
Yeah.
asking the planning board how to interpret what the Army Corps of Engineers is doing, because the neighbor's concerned about what the other guy's doing.
because we're watching the waterfront
Right,
two doors down
right,
be completely engineered, and it's about 10 times bigger than my waterfront.
That's interesting.
And
I just want to state it so I understand.
Yeah, so I just am very confused as to what bodies provide oversight of certain
Well,
kinds
you'd
of
have to find
things.
out from the DEC first whether he made application there, and you'd have to deal with DEC on that,
Well,
whether
the
he made an
DEC
application.
the DEC says he doesn't have to make any application. The DEC says he can do whatever he wants to do.
There you go.
Now,
I
must be
was just
just
about to
that
say that, because when
line.
I rip-wrapped mine, DEC said, go ahead and do it, and I did that 30 years ago.
You didn't have to go through the Army Corps.
Nope,
Well, the Army Corps seemed to think that you had to go through the Army Corps, but if the DEC is not referring things to the Army Corps, then there's no
Nope.
effective oversight.
and in fact, when I added additional, and I don't know how we got into this, but when I added additional, I was told by EC that if I'm going to add additional, so long as I'm not putting it in the water, because I wanted to build up a little higher, that I could do it, I didn't need a permit or anything. And I just did that about a year ago. So, that's where we're at.
I mean, I know Jeff explored, I don't know about the Army Corps of Engineers, because he never said anything to me about that, because I don't know about that either. But I know he went through the DEC and other avenues, which I don't know about.
The DEC was there. I don't know what that meeting produced, but I know
No, I
that the
don't
DEC
either,
was
so.
there in July. So,
So Nancy, you're not the only one that has those interests, because there's other people on the way, because I've had many calls, and especially on Croyles and as well as Jorgers and this and that. That's what I was gonna bring up to the planning board tonight, but
Jeff and I actually went down.
we've been
and
getting a
measured
lot of
setbacks
calls.
to make sure it was within legal parameters, I'd say.
okay. Well, I don't actually want to create hassle. I just want to understand what bodies provide oversight of different kinds of things, and I am really interested in having before me a copy of the land use regulations so that I can plan my own, my own housing development in the future. I'd be really interested to know what I'm allowed to do and what I'm not allowed to do, and I want to stay within the law. Okay, thank
Okay.
you for answering my
Sorry, I can't answer all your questions. I don't know.
Anybody else?
Ron?
I just wanted to add, there is a big difference between riprap and cut and fill too. Cut and fill would require a permit, which I think Croyle may have gotten away with a little bit, extending his road frontage. But going back to the initial thing, so I know when I was code enforcement officer, and I worked with Mark Randall pretty closely. Well, he was very, very concerned about water quality and stuff. And I went pretty much house to house and septic system to septic system survey, let's put it that way. And the big concern was conversions of seasonal camps on these little lots, which were sort of exempted from being 1 acre since they're already cut out. But conversion from seasonal to year-round, which is happening all around the way. And with additional bedrooms, some or other people got away with it, but none of those places, none of the septic systems meet the sanitary code standards in terms of footage, not only from the lake frontage, but also from the well and from the neighbor's well. So I'd basically say there should be no expansion of any place, maybe a place to be replaced,
Thing is,
but
most
no
all over-
expansion around that whole lake.
Most all those were established before they had codes to begin with, so.
Yeah, who knows, some people had no idea what they had there. But that, at least the sanitary code, that part of our land use regulations should put a restriction on any expansion of any places down there. And even though some expansion has happened, the lots are just too small.
But again, you go with the county code now, not the town.
Well, if there's gonna be a step,
Sanitation.
what do you mean some other approved?
The county has its own code, and, I mean, we have sanitation regulations, but they're just all outdated, so they've been replaced as far
Well,
as I know.
Some areas you can't sell your home unless you pass the septic system. I mean,
Right.
what is there if it doesn't? Here it doesn't matter. No regulation. A lot of places you can't get a mortgage unless it's dry
That's
on an existing building. Any more?
Any more? I guess not. So you want discussion, or you want to adjourn?
Yeah. I think we should, the planning board, where we go from here. What are we gonna work on next?
What are we gonna work on next? I know I'd like to work on it, like you regulation.
Yeah. Well, I guess, my personal opinion, I can't speak for the board, they're gonna have to speak for themselves, that we did make land use laws. Incidentally, like the lake we talked about was the residential recreation. Remember? And those proposals were all made, town board has them. I'd like to see if we move these along to get them implemented, really, because we worked on it, I mean, and no disrespect to the town board, but, I mean, if we work on something in this sector, I'd like to get it moving so we can in fact get, because all I'm saying, I'm trying to avoid the problems that we are having, as I indicated, the calls I got this in the lake over 2 properties. I've never had so many calls, and then there's other things, and I think, we should do it, and we rely on the sanitation code with the county for 40,000 square feet, when in fact, we don't have any regulation indicating that it should be 1 acre. It relies on
We
the
don't
county.
have, we don't have.
It's a sanitation law that we're governed by only, nothing else.
Which is 40,000 square feet, actually, not
Right.
43. But again, the regulations now are covered by the county.
Right.
So, and all those regulations that we had created were reasonable too.
Yes, yes, for setbacks and everything else. Because the next door neighbor to Jugger called me out how many times, and of course, I know the code enforcement officers out here is their fool, and been down there, and he keeps complaining, he says he built that garage 6 feet from my line, like it's right on top of it. Whereas if we had the setback, and I don't know what setback we described at that time, maybe it's 12 or 14 feet, I don't know about that.
20.
Whatever it was.
20 or
he would have
25,
been-
yeah.
He would have been happy with the garage being built, or maybe, depending on the size of the lot, maybe he couldn't even build the garage.
We wrote one,
You,
we've written one, Gary.
Yeah.
We've written a land use
But is there
regs.
existing one in place
There,
right
there is.
No, there's nothing.
State standards, in
now?
place,
State
Well,
standards.
state standards, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Which
state
standards
standards.
apply,
which we're bound by.
and we're
Yeah.
bound by that.
Yeah.
And then it steps to county standards.
Ted, we actually have this old original law which we revised, okay? This one's still intact.
So there's one in
There's
place,
one in place, but
so similar to,
it's more of
Laws that
building
we've
codes
worked on
and everything
before.
else, and there's no setbacks in it, so.
Right.
Which was-
It's gonna impose a stricter regulation, but not a more lenient one.
okay, so the
Right,
one in
yeah,
effect
Within
now.
the state, yeah.
Yeah, you can always make them tougher.
Actually, it was filed in 2006, this one was.
So in answer to the garage question, there is a setback existing for the garage, and then it would follow. So the one we would propose would be stricter than that.
Mhm.
Or you did propose, you say.
Yes, we did.
We did all right.
And we had setbacks from county road as well as state road, and setbacks from the center
For
line.
residents and for
For
storage
residents.
buildings
The
and
buildings or all that.
single
We did all
resident,
that.
double resident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What needs to be done to that, to get that through? Do we have to go
They-
rework it?
We do have to, they actually had a public hearing on it, and do you remember that they've actually followed the format for the town or whatever it was? And they were still listing districts in there, which should not have been in there. And that's as far as
So
it
legal description needs to be rewritten.
needs to be rewritten. And I'd just love to do it, to give it back to me. I'm joking, of course.
Well, I think, you know, as a planning board, that's part of our responsibility. to
Well,
do
yeah,
that.
to make recommendations.
Yeah, and try to push it along if we can and get it done.
Now, you know, another thing I'll bring up, when they proposed these districts in the one law,
Yeah.
my first thought, you're creating zoning. You are.
Right. But the Z word is not a good word, so we just pass ordinances.
When they pass it, they create zoning.
Well, whatever you wanna call it, they've done it in other towns, we're not,
Considered spot zoning?
yeah, we're not,
Would they be considered spot zoning?
Yeah, it would be spot zoning, but you
Yeah.
still gotta create a zoning board of appeals.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely.
but there's other towns who didn't, you know, start out with zoning, but they just started out passing ordinances and, you know, that's to take care of certain problems.
Yeah, but
And
you-
you can do that, you don't have to,
Here you define.
you don't have to tell anybody what color you're gonna paint their house, you wanna get that fanatic about it.
But again, you want spot zone.
Right.
So you have ag and you have residential districts and business districts and that's it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'd like to see us work on some economic development, you know,
Well, I agree with you there, too.
something a little fun, you know, that we could put a committee together and start thinking about what we could do to bring more tourism.
We talked about that once before.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a good idea, I mean, it is part of the comprehensive plan as well. and,
Economic and recreation, there's another one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'd like to see us start doing something like that too.
Well, we'll make you trim with that, and I think it's a hell of an idea.
Committee.
No, I'm serious. Because I think,
I'm not ready, I mean, I have enough on my plate, but I will step up and do some of it, there's no question about that, I always do.
Do you ever hear about those scrambles they used to have in Brookfield where they'd run the motor cross tracks around the trail system?
No,
It was pretty big.
no. I like Ron's idea of the trail system,
Oh,
I
yeah.
think that's a good thing. I mean, it's not really economic development, but I think it's a really good recreational thing that we could bring people here. And that's really what we need to be thinking about, because we have no industry, I mean, all we have is tourism, basically. And, I mean, it's a good thing to sell. For example,
Stop down at the Soulsville Hotel, have a beer, you know, work your way up to next refreshment spot.
get an ice cream and troops, I mean, there's a, you know, anything we bring through the town is good, as far as I'm concerned.
It is. Ron, who owns those railroad beds now? Any
As
idea?
far as I'm concerned, it's the right of way. I mean, I've been on it, there's no posted signs, and it's the only way to get on through to the old milk station there. It comes right out to the milk station. Bridge across the one little drainage area needs to get kind of fixed, it's just old railroad ties over, but I don't, you know, I'm not even sure who to talk to. Before I started doing that, I wanted to just see if anybody thought it was a good idea. And then, whoever owns the milk station, and I don't think that would be a big issue coming out there.
There used to be Dairy Lee years ago.
Yeah.
Back
I
in
mean,
the-
ideally, you could stay on there, go past the old Eggway, except there's a bridge out, and, you know, keep on heading on up to, hit the trail system up by, you know, town of Augusta, but has no trail system.
Somewhere.
It's on the railroad bed.
Now, doesn't part of the snowmobile trail run on the railroad beds?
No kidding.
Yeah.
Any cards?
I don't know, it's pretty overgrown just with invasive honeysuckle. You can't even get through that. I mean, this is where goes the Lions Pond. Is that what you mean?
Nancy,
So, sorry to interrupt this conversation, but I'm interested in going back a couple steps and hearing what the planning board thinks about the creation of wind districts, which are, as you said, Roger, effectively zoning. Have you advised the town board that, according to the New York State Department of State 2011 document on zoning for the first
182
time?
pages.
Huh?
182
Yeah.
pages.
Yeah, that there would have to be a zoning